thanks for joining me. In this video, I'll be giving you a tour of this Incredible Hulk DVD box set. I'll be using its extensive extras to give you a behind-the-scenes glimpse of the show, and I'll also be featuring extracts of the director's commentary with Kenneth Johnson. But first, I'd like to give special thanks to those who've subscribed to my channel so far, and tell you that a vote is underway in my channel's community tab to decide what TV show to post a video about in April 2024. The contest is between two legendary 70s series, The $6 Million Man and Kung Fu. As well as voting, you're also welcome to leave comments, questions and suggestions on that form. In truth, I was never a fan of the superhero TV shows of the 1970s. Series such as The Amazing Spider-Man were no match for their comic book sources, where a clash of superhero and supervillain was the order of the day, usually resulting in vehicles being tossed aside like children's toys and buildings toppling like ninepins. All that the TV adaptations could offer us, though, was superhero versus lame gangsters or common street criminals. No contest there then, and rarely was a superhero hair forced out of place. But there was one show that offered the viewer compensation for its lack of superpowered conflict. And that offering was a very unlikely commodity in a comic book adaptation. Because that commodity was emotion. The pilot TV movie was written by Kenneth Johnson, the show's creator.
He was so smart. He took a character which, in live-action television, might have been unbearably foolish-looking, with nonsensical stories, and he made it as palatable for grown-ups as for kids, maybe more so.
And that preference for emotional drama was there from the very start, ingrained within the first 6 minutes of the pilot TV movie.
It was very important to set this up and the love and affection that he felt for her because of what was to come. This rollover was filmed out at Pico Canyon also.
Johnson's version of Banner would be haunted by his inability to save his wife, and he would develop an obsession in the cases of those who did find superhuman levels of strength in similar situations.
3 cuts, close, medium, and then wide, back to the bed that we've seen before. And Joe's solo piano, which became so instrumental in the creation of the pathos of Dr. David Banner.
Initially, Johnson turned down the offer to adapt the show because he disliked comic books, but after reading the classic novel, Les Miserables, he knew exactly how to adapt the Incredible Hulk and became more enthusiastic. The comic book's roots were also linked to classic literature and film.
Funny thing, I wanted to get I always liked Jekyll and Hyde, and I always liked the Frankenstein movie, the old one with Karloff. And in the Frankenstein movie, I always felt the monster is really the good guy. He didn't want to hurt anybody. So I thought it would be fun to get a monster who was really a good guy. To take a leaf from the Jekyll and Hyde thing, where he could change from a normal person into the monster. And I did the Hulk.
But who could possibly play the Hulk?
We talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was busy doing Conan at the time, and he suggested we talk to Louis Ferrigno. And I met with Louis, and he was a very sweet guy, had absolutely no acting experience at all, and I was concerned about being able to make that happen.
There were other obstacles in the way too. Early in life, Ferrigno suffered a series of infections that left him 80% deaf. This communication problem, along with a speech impediment, made him a prime target for bullies in his early years. As a result, Ferrigno developed a fixation with the muscle-bound heroes of comic books, especially the Hulk, and he also made an idol of bodybuilder Steve Reeves, who was famous for the Italian-made Hercules films of the late 50s. His early experience of being bullied created a self-confessed desire for physical power in the youngster, and he would embark on a bodybuilding campaign in his teens with homemade weightlifting equipment. This would lead to an adult life as a bodybuilder. It would also lead to the first flowering of fame as a star of the popular 1977 documentary film Pumping Iron, which would focus on his rivalry with a movie superstar of the future, none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So I sort of kept Lou in my hip pocket, but I decided to try to go with Richard Kiel, who later on would play Jaws in the James Bond movie.
They shot for a full week with Kiel, but it became more and more obvious that his physique didn't make for a convincing Hulk.
It was someone who had the height, but not the bulk and not the presence. Tall and thin just didn't cut it. And lumbering. It was just too much like, the Abominable Snowman.
Despite his lack of acting experience, Ferrigno was up for the challenge and wanted to learn to act.
I mean, here was a kid that had made himself into this, hugely amazing muscle man. And I got to thinking, well, if he's got the inner strength and fortitude and passion to do that, then I bet I can make this work.
The task of presenting Ferrigno with an acting role in the show was given to writer-producer Karen Harris.
It was obvious that the way to best serve him was to make the role as close to his own life. I wrote King of the Beach, and it was very, very satisfying for me because I knew that I was touching something important to him. He came into me after he'd read the script, and he was in tears, and he said, "It's like you're inside my head."
Harris's plan worked like a dream, and Ferrigno gave a convincing performance in the familiar environment that she had provided for him.
If I go through with the competition, South Diamond will own me.
But only as a professional bodybuilder.
It was really lovely, and I'm very, very proud of it, and I was proud of him.
Kenneth Johnson was proud too of the show's popularity across different genders and age groups. The show had demographics that were unlike any comic book adaptation before it.
Our largest audience was adult women, and then adult men, and then teens, and lastly, kids.
Somehow, something about the whole thing just doesn't seem right.
Sure, the young kids sometimes would tune in to see the big green guy crash through the wall, but what happened was very quickly the adults in the household saw, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. This is a real drama. This is a little morality play. This is a character that I want to know more about and be involved with.
Johnson was surprised to learn from studio executives that his pilot movie was also a hit in Europe, but not as a TV offering, as a feature film. Back then, the best TV movies were released cinematically outside North America, and the release of The Hulk was a hit across Europe. Ken Johnson had prior success as a writer on The $6 Million Man and as creator of the spin-off show The Bionic Woman. After The Incredible Hulk, he would quickly find success again with the memorable miniseries V. One of the show's key strengths is the fact that Banner is, in effect, a fugitive while trying to find a cure for his illness. On the run from Jack Colvin's all-too-persistent reporter, who would happily travel across America to investigate any sighting of the Hulk. To escape his clutches, Banner would wander from place to place. Episode by episode, he would meet an entirely new set of characters with different lives and different problems to go with them, set in a different social or economic environment. That kind of variety is the spice of life, and the show's writers made the very best of it.
Ken Johnson had a philosophy from day one. Never speak down to the audience. Never write down to the audience. Never think that you're writing a comic book. Write real stories, write real people, write drama.
And it was that philosophy that landed Johnson his biggest catch for The Incredible Hulk, someone that the show may even have struggled without.
Bill Bixby was my first and only choice. We sent him the script. His agent gave it to him. Bill said, "What, are you crazy? I'm not going to read anything called The Hulk." And his agent said, "Read it." and Bix read it and called me the next day and came over and said, "Is this what we're going to do?" I mean, Bill was always very intense, right in your face all the time. Oh. And he says, "Yeah, are we really going to do this? Is it going to be this drama? Is it going to be like this excitement, this real human stuff?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Not going to be all comic booky." I said, No. Bix says, "This is what I want to do." And he said, "Will you stay with it for as long as I stay with it?" And I agreed to be part of the show as long as he was part of the show. And indeed, we were pals from then on.
There's something about Bixby. Is it charm? Is it charisma? Probably both. But there's also something else that comes through for me when I watch him on screen. And that something is trust. Bixby was an experienced and versatile actor, and he knew a good thing when he saw one. The role of David Bruce Banner was the perfect showcase for his everyman qualities. His obvious empathy with people, his ability to pull them in close and get them to open up to him, making his charm, humor, and intellect freely available, as well as his humanity. But such qualities could never keep him safe from real-life tragedy.
It's okay if I say this, right, Bix? wanted a show so his son could see that his mom and dad, even though they were going through a divorce, could get along. So he wanted us to write a show for Brenda Benet. And I came up with The Psychic, which was the first show that I wrote on my own, and was about a woman who could read minds and was thinking about suicide because a young boy had died that she couldn't save.
Season 4 came the real tragedy when Bix's 6-year-old son, Christopher, died unexpectedly.
And then Brenda killed herself out of guilt, and that one was such a glaring, bizarre set of circumstances that everything else pales in memory.
Goodbye, David.
You be good to yourself.
Bixby and this show were made for each other, and it's difficult to imagine it working so well without his presence. I'll leave the final words on this classic TV show to Kenneth Johnson.
And it was because of the team that I had been lucky enough to put together, particularly the writing and the producing team that worked with me over the years. All of those men and women who brought all of their talents to the Hulk are the reason that it was so successful, and the reason that I can now look back at it with such fondness and such gratitude and such joy at having been a part of it.
If you enjoyed watching this video, then please consider clicking the like button and subscribing for more. My name is Ed, and I post regularly on this platform. You'll find a list of future uploads in the description section of my channel trailer. I also invite you to browse the channels that I'm subscribed to. You'll find many memorabilia and media-related channels there that may interest you. I thank you for watching.